In the last few years, ranked maps have generally gotten a lot more experimental. A lot of new mapping styles and movements have started from the expanding scope of the ranking criteria. But out of all of these, one stands apart, both because of just how out there it is and how infamous and popular it has become. Polyrhythmic mapping. A style which pushes the extremes of rhythm comprehension, and by doing so has created a small subgroup of players which can actually play the maps properly. The progression of players to this new frontier has been the grounds for rising stars and a new interest in rhythm-focused mapping. But first, a word from our sponsor, Akora. I've already talked about a few of Akora's best features, like customizable backgrounds, extensions, and the ability to import any existing settings you might have from your previous browser. But Akora has even more to offer, like integrated social media channels. Facebook Messenger, Telegram, WhatsApp, Twitch, and especially Discord are all integrated right into the right sidebar. Then there's the hot tab killer, one of Akora's biggest advantages over other browsers, and especially Chrome, because the hot tab killer basically lets you remove all of the resource-intensive websites that you have open, and as a result is much better if you want performance. And knowing how Osu can run, this is an amazing feature. There are also some amazing quality of life upgrades, like the adaptive background music and video pop-out. And finally, there's the ever-impressive mobile integration, which lets you sync your phone and computer seamlessly. To get the browser, click the link in the description. Now, back to the video. First off, what is a polyrhythm? Well, it's when two different rhythms are played against each other. So a 3 against 2 polyrhythm would sound like this. The reason polyrhythmic maps in Osu go by that name is because each one has an underlying 4/4 beat, despite a constantly changing rhythm. The reason these maps work so well in Osu is because despite how chaotic and random they can sound, they're grounded in this original beat. This gives them a rhythm that is hard to uncover, but is also possible to follow along with. Now, it's impossible to make this video without talking about the artist, who almost single-handedly responsible for these maps. IIL. IIL is an artist in the footwork genre, a genre characterized mainly by two things: strange and erratic rhythms and sampling. This is where IIL sets himself apart, because he strips the genre down to its most base elements and then brings them to extremes. IIL songs don't have samples. Like, here's a song off the most popular album in the genre. And then here's a song from an IIL album. His style lends itself well to Osu because of just how clear his rhythms are, replacing the high sound density of samples for simple synths. The first time one of his songs was mapped in Osu wasn't actually in the standard game mode. Instead, it was in Mania. This actually makes a lot of sense, because electronic music has always been more popular in Mania, and because of the 4 lanes, you can actually map the polyrhythm in full. It was a map of Sputnik 3, and over the next year, a few more Mania or Catch the Beat maps would be made with IIL songs. The first standard IIL map would be made nearly 40 years later, when KTGster mapped Vanguard 1. This map is insane. As one commenter said, it's the Osu equivalent of riding a bull. The map was especially interesting because KTGster would completely forego the drums and instead map only the synths, making for a map with an off-kilter feel that can almost feel random at some times without the knowledge of polyrhythms. The map also didn't hold back when it came to aim, and there's some extremely uncomfortable and difficult to read patterns. The difficulty of these is only compounded by the difficulty of the rhythms, and so despite having a star rating of 6.8 at the time, the map was an insurmountable challenge. This challenge was accepted by a few of the most rhythmically skilled players in the game, with Crystal being the first to FC with a legitimately respectable 85. And yes, that really is decent for the map. The leaderboard is currently filled with C's. This score would be improved upon by Red Pixel with an 89%, and then Wowie with a staggering 93%. But the most impressive score that would be set on the map before it was loved would come from Arson, with a 94.5% FC, achieving the first S rank on the map. There were clearly a select few players who could actually play, or in this case maybe comprehend the map, but there was still a long way to go before anyone would master it. This map would lay the groundwork for a map that would really push the style into the mainstream. And that was Devious Panda's map of Sputnik 3. This map is different from Vanguard 1 in two key ways. The first is it's much more conventional aim-wise. That's not to say it's easy, because it still contains a lot of the eccentricities that come from uncommon rhythms. But the difference is that there aren't any sections quite as uncomfortable as these double patterns or the end section. On the other hand though, it's much less conventional rhythm-wise. This is because while Vanguard uses weird rhythms inside 4/4 for the majority of the map, Sputnik switches back and forth between 4/4 and 3/4, while also containing weird rhythms inside of each of these time signatures. The map was initially made for the Grand Finals of OWC 2020, but it was immediately banned because, well, it's sort of absurd. Interestingly enough though, one of the most impressive plays on the map would be set before its existence was even public knowledge, because Bubbleman would set a sensational 98% FC on the map for the showcase before the Grand Finals. This is stupid accuracy, and the biggest testament to the sheer impressiveness of it would be that it would take 4 months before someone would beat it. In this time, the best attempts would come from Akora with a 96% FC and Lucent with a really nice 97.2 one miss. But Bubbleman's score would eventually be beaten by Spare with a 98.56. Shortly after this, the map would be qualified, which is honestly an achievement in itself, since a map like this had never gotten ranked before. This added a lot of hype to the scores on the map, and it also got a whole lot more people playing it. When the map was in its qualified state, two pretty important plays would be set, both by Akora. First was 98.84% FC, setting the new best act on the map, and then shortly after with his genuinely absurd 99.31% FC. Okay, maybe it's time to talk about Akora for a sec. Before this point, Akora was primarily known for 3 things. His extensive mapping career, including some super iconic maps like Everything Will Freeze and Matt's Core, his reading skill, especially at low AR, and his memorization skill. The fact that he had amazing rhythm comprehension wasn't a surprise per se, but the extent of his skill was. At this point, he had basically set himself up as being a step ahead of every other player when it came to polyrhythmic mapping. Well, at least when it came to no mod. Because while the map was qualified, Flying Tuna would FC with 97%, and then come and set a hidden Hard Rock FC with 93% accuracy. This play is incredible both aim and rhythm-wise, but it also pointed out an interesting thing about the map. Because without Hard Rock, Flying Tuna was pretty obviously less capable of playing the rhythms on the map. But with this score, he had beaten Akora's best unstable rate, and he technically played them better. This is likely because the map is not only hard to play rhythm and aim-wise, but it's also hard to read because it's only AR9. It's definitely not a stretch to say this is one of the reasons behind Akora's domination. Now, shortly after Flying Tuna's hidden Hard Rock score on the map, it would be ranked. And within 2 days, Akora would get a 99.57 and a 99.73%. There was clearly one thing that this is leading to. An SS. A score that if you were to get it, would be one of the best rhythm scores ever set, and maybe even one of the best plays in the game. But it wouldn't happen overnight, and over the next few months he would work at it. Only 4 days after the map was ranked, another monumental score would be set, with GFMRT's 95% hidden Hard Rock FC. This accuracy is beyond impressive for hidden Hard Rock, and it would stand at the #1 spot for a long time. After another month, Akora would once again improve on his score, with a 99.89. This made it clear that he was closing in on the score, and at this point he had achieved more than 10 FCs on the map, and it seemed like getting the score would be much more a matter of luck than anything else at this point. Only 4 days after this, he would also get an SS with Easy on the map. During this time, the map would also get a few very impressive Hard Rock scores, with a 96% 4 miss from Weeble, a 94% Hard Rock FC from Swaggy Swagster, and Haga's 97.97% hidden Hard Rock 2 miss. Accuracy? Accuracy? Like, that's all I can say. But even with these extremely impressive scores, one stands out. And that's Bubbleman's 97% hidden Hard Rock FC, combining shocking accuracy with exceptional aim and a truly fantastic score. While all of this was happening, Akora was still putting in work on the map, with upwards of 70 scores submitted, and 20 of those being FCs. And with this amount of effort, it seemed like it couldn't be too long before the score came to fruition. And that, it did. One of the most impressive scores of all time, in my opinion. The amount of reading, memorization, rhythm comprehension, and just straight up persistence needed to consider a score of this magnitude is shocking, let alone actually pulling it off. This cemented Akora's spot as the king of polyrhythmic gaming. After this, he would also go and get a 99% on the map with Hard Rock, which might be just as impressive. And on top of this, a few other big things happened in the realm of polyrhythmic mapping. First is that IAL became a featured artist, really cementing the style, and giving more mappers a chance to make polyrhythmic maps, because now there are many that are pre-timed. Akora would also have a map named after him and ranked, which he promptly took number 1 on, before Emmerich came with an exceptional hidden hard rock score, which is basically where this new horizon of mapping currently stands. Polyrhythmic mapping is one of the most interesting trends to come out of the modern era, and it's truly fascinating to see how something so jarringly different from what players are used to can be optimized and understood. The heights that this has all propelled the mappers, artists, and players to makes me think that we'll be seeing a lot more people becoming familiar with it, which may lead to some truly amazing and insane maps in the future. And I think that's pretty cool.